Hello everyone, my name is Yana Smakula and I'm thrilled to be a guest designer on the My Favorite Things YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a spring birthday card featuring two new sets from My Favorite Things, the Yay For You set and Hoppy Friends set. Recently, I've become very fond of coloring using Polychromos colored pencils from Faber-Castell, and so I decided to use these pencils for my card today. In this video, I'll show you how I created the card, and we'll also walk you through the basics of pencil coloring, be it Polychromos pencils or any other colored pencils that you might have in your stash. I'm starting to work on my card by stamping a large Yay onto toned gray sketch paper from Strathmore in Versamark watermark ink. I'm also using a stamp positioner tool today, such as a mini Misty. There's a reason as to why I'm using this particular paper, this particular ink, and my Misty. I myself learn better if I understand the why behind things, so whenever I explain something, I always try to first tell the why and provide specific reasons for using one product over another or doing something in a specific way. When you color with colored pencils, you need to remember that you will need to blend the pencil colors using either a blending solution or pencils themselves. I always blend my pencils using the pencils themselves, and because of this, the paper that I use for my coloring matters a great deal. When coloring with colored pencils, you need to use the paper that has tooth to it, as this is what the pigment from the pencil grabs onto. In a way, it's opposite to Copic markers. If your paper is very smooth, the pigment will have nothing to grab onto, and you will have a hard time building the layers and blending different colors of pencils together. With this in mind, I picked tone gray sketch paper from Strathmore. You can also use cardstock from your stash. Some colored cardstocks have nice tooth to them that provide a great surface for coloring with pencils. Even watercolor paper can be used for coloring with colored pencils as it has a little bit of tooth. Now this paper is gray, it's not white, and you're probably wondering why. I do not like to color with my colored pencils on white paper as, well, simply put, there's no point. I can use my Copic markers or other alcohol markers and have great colored results on white paper. I cannot, however, use my Copic markers on colored paper as I won't have same vibrant results. With colored pencils, on the other hand, I can color on any color of cardstock I want, even black, and still have beautiful, vibrant projects. Black, craft, and gray colored backgrounds are my favorite for projects with colored pencils. Let's move on to coloring, and I'll explain how I color, and I'll mention why I use watermark ink and Misty. When I color with colored pencils, I like to start with my white pencil to lay or map out the highlight areas of my image. With this particular Yay, I want the top of the letters to be the lightest and the bottom of the letters to be darkest. The pressure you apply when coloring with colored pencils also matters. You want to start with a light hand at first when you apply your first layer and gradually increase the pressure as you go and apply the final layer of pigment. Pencil coloring, like any other kind of coloring, happens in layers. To achieve depth and dimension, you'll need to apply the pigment in several stages. You can see that I'm not getting an even white coverage when I'm applying the white pencil at first. The gray paper is showing through the white coloring. As I build and add more color and finally come to blend the colors together, no gray will be showing through my coloring. I will burnish the color and the paper. So why did I use the watermark ink for my stamping? I want to be able to heat emboss this Yay in white embossing powder once I'm done coloring it, so I needed to make sure to stamp this in a light color of ink so that it wouldn't accidentally show on my finished card under that white embossing. You can also use a light gray ink to stamp this. You don't necessarily have to use this specific watermark ink. And this is also why I used my Misty today. I did keep my stamp in the Misty after I stamped it onto this paper. Once I finish my coloring, I will place this paper back into the Misty and will stamp this image again using same embossing ink and will heat emboss it in white. Now, why did I not emboss it right away? The reason I didn't do it right away is because you can either color over the embossing powder by accident with your pencil as you color, and also as you apply heavier pressure, you can flake the embossing powder off your image and ruin your embossing. So I find it easier to color first and heat emboss the same image over the colored one later. Once I have my white color down, I'm going to bring my medium color. This is cobalt green, number 156. I'm going to color over part of the white coloring and also extend this out where I have no pencil color at all. Right there, you can see the difference in color. Where I have my white, my blue looks lighter, and where I do not have white, my blue looks a bit darker. So this is somewhat similar to coloring with Copic markers. You go from light to medium to dark, and then blend it out with medium and light. Once I have my medium color here, I'm going to come in with my dark color. This is cobalt turquoise, number 153, and I'm filling in the rest of the letter shape. Once again, I overlap the light blue a little bit with the dark blue and color all the way down where I have no color at all. I'm going to start intensifying the color. So I'm coming in with the same pencil, the same dark blue, and I'm using heavier pressure this time and building up the pigment on my paper. As soon as I start doing that, you can see the difference in dark blue. It is much more darker and the gray paper is now less visible under my coloring. In fact, you almost cannot see it at all. Next, I'm moving to my medium color and doing the same thing here. But again, I'm using heavier pressure. I picked this particular image to demonstrate this coloring today as it's nice and big and you can really see all of the steps clearly. Finally, I'm coming in with my lightest color, my white pencil, and I'm blending the colors. My pencil flakes a bit as I color, and to prevent smudges on my paper, I'm using a brush from Tonic Studios and I just clean the pencil flakes off. I go back to my medium color and to my dark color, and I keep on working on my image until I'm happy with the blending. I finished coloring the yay. Here's a closer look, and I really like the way it turned out. You can definitely go with other colors. The pink or purple would look really nice for the spring card. I'm going to place this back into my MISTI and will heat emboss it in white embossing powder. I did not move my yay stamp after the first time I stamped it, so it is in the exact same spot. I'm also adding a line message that reads a super big, and I'm heat embossing both in white embossing powder. I treated my paper with an anti-static powder tool to make sure my embossing would be nice and clean, and just going to heat set the powder with my heat tool. Now I should mention that this paper is very thin, so it will warp from the heat. There's also a way to fix that, and I'll show you how when we get to that part of the video. My coloring went a little bit outside the line of the heat embossed line, but that's not a big deal. It is hardly noticeable on the card. I'm going to stamp a bunny from the Hoppy Friends stamp set in the exact same way, and I will color him using my pencils. I was planning on using 2 bunnies at first, and that's why you see me stamp both of them here, but I ended up using just 1 bunny for my card. Once again, I used a white pencil to color the inside of the bunny's ear, and also a light pink pencil. This is light flash color, number 132, and I didn't do as much blending here as I wanted this coloring to be much softer. I also wanted to show you a little trick. Colored pencils will always look slightly differently on different colors of cardstock. So whenever I'm unsure how the colors I picked would look, I do a quick test and see if that works for me. Here I tested my warm gray colors to see if those would work well with the white color to color the bunny. I mostly used my white pencil to color my bunny, and I didn't blend or burnish as I wanted the coloring to look textured and look like fur. I also used a little bit of a warm gray 5, number 274, and warm gray 2, number 271, to add some shadows to my image. You'll also notice that I stamped my bunny in black ink. I decided I wasn't going to add white embossing as I have too much white here, so I stamped a black outline to give more definition to this image. I really like doing no-line coloring with my pencils, but today I wanted my images to have a defined look to them. I made sure to re-stamp the black outline once my coloring was complete to have a nice, crisp black line to my bunny. I also used my heat tool and zapped this image just for a few seconds to help the ink dry. Colored pencils create somewhat of a sleek surface on your paper, and when you stamp over it, the ink needs extra time to dry, so using a heat tool here speeds up that drying time. I used my coordinating dies and cut the bunnies out in my Spellbinders Platinum die cutting machine. I was planning on using both of the bunnies, but they ended up covering too much of the yay, so I just used 1. I white heat embossed a sub-sentiment, It's Your Day in the same white embossing powder, and I also already stamped another message for this card that reads Hoppy Happy Birthday. I used black ink and stamped it onto a skinny cardstock strip. I mentioned that the toned gray paper is very thin, and since I die-cut the bunny out of this paper, I wanted to make him a little bit sturdier, and I also wanted to pop him up on my card. I did that with the help of fun foam. Here I have a little sheet of 2mm thick fun foam. I'm going to cover the front and back of the fun foam with double-sided adhesive. I'm using Scrapbook Adhesive's adhesive sheets, and you can also use Stick-It adhesive and Thermoweb Easy Cut adhesive. These three that I know of are very thin, and your dies will have no problem cutting through 2 layers of adhesive and 1 layer of fun foam. I cut it out in my die cutting machine, and I'm going to use this fun foam sticker to adhere my colored bunny onto the card. So I'm not only making my colored piece a bit more secure, but also adding dimension to my project. I'm also using foam squares to foam mount the Hoppy Happy Birthday sentiment, and I have it going across the card, partially covering the bunny and the yay. I've already trimmed my background panel to 4 by 5¼ inches, and I'm going to use same thin fun foam to foam mount my panel onto a card base. This panel warped a little bit from the heat embossing, so using a layer of fun foam under it instead of using foam squares will help it remain perfectly flat and will pop it up on my card. Every card needs some embellishments, so for my project today, I decided to use Clear Droplets in small and medium size from Pretty Pink Posh. I adhered several onto my card, forming a visual triangle around the main image. I also used Tonic Aqua Shimmer Pen and added a generous amount of shimmer to the colored letters. It's hard to see it on camera, but it shines beautifully in the artificial light. Here is a closer look at the Spring Bunny card created using Yay For You and Hoppy Friends stamps from My Favorite Things. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you feel inspired to create. Bye!